Yo YouTube! This is my video for today, which is Monday the 12th of August. My stats first of all. So this morning I did get some fuel. So this week my average fuel price is 13.88 pence per mile. I've driven 368 miles, 368. And I've worked for 11 and a quarter hours. I've earned from one CX job and one non-CX job £219, 219. And I spent on fuel £51 and 8 pence. That means after fuel, today I've earned £168, 168. So let me tell you about my day today, and then I've got 3 separate additional items to talk about. So the job that I did the first thing in the morning was my non-CX job. And it was collecting from Wellingborough and delivering to Stockport. I live about an hour and 20 minutes away from Wellingborough, about 54 square miles, 54 loaded dead miles. But I did check with the shipper in question, and they did say that I was able to co-load this if I could find something. So on Friday, I was bidding on stuff that would either take me from home to the Wellingborough region or thereabouts, or from Wellingborough area up towards Manchester area. But unfortunately I didn't get any success doing that. So that's my first opportunity to try and get a co-load. And this morning I was bidding from 7:30, and there was a couple of opportunities but not an awful lot. I was trying to get a job from where I live towards Wellingborough, or again something from the Wellingborough area up to Manchester area. And no luck with that either. So by 8:20 I just made my way via the petrol station to Wellingborough. And I would have arrived just after 10 o'clock, I think. I got loaded up with a €1 pallet, and then I parked outside the pickup place, and I was bidding on potential co-loaded jobs to get myself from where I was to Manchester. And there's quite a reasonable number of opportunities, not a lot but a few, and I did actually get a call from somebody, but the load that they wanted to take up was a long wheelbase load, and they needed to have 2.5 metres worth of load space, and I only had 2 metres left because of the way that we'd loaded up the Euro pallet at the back of my van. If I'd loaded it at the side long ways, it probably would have fitted it on an extra load, so I have to remember that for next time. My rationale for putting the load at the back of the van was, if I'm going to get a co-load and it's heavy, I want to put it through my side door next to my bulkhead. But I was looking really ideally for a small van job to take me up as a co-load. So once I'd not got that job, I sort of got a bit disheartened by the whole thing, and then decided to just go about 11ish. I decided I would go just straight to Stockport, and that was a 2.5 hour journey. So I was scheduled to be there 1:30, 1:45. So I made my way up towards Stockport. I didn't bother looking at the feed until I got stuck in traffic on the M6 north of Birmingham. At that point there was a job going from Wolverhampton to Bury, and I looked at it. It was about half an hour from Bury to Stockport, and I just didn't feel I had enough spare time to comfortably do that job, so I didn't bother bidding on it in the end, because I didn't want to let my shipper down that I was doing the job for. So in the end I didn't do any co-loading. I just took one pallet up from Wellingborough to Stockport, and that was that. When I was last doing this, I parked outside the drop-off place and looked for work, and it was very hard to get anything. So last time I remember I went to M17 to get close to Salford and Trafford Park. I seem to remember though it wasn't that successful there either. So this time I just thought I'd just try staying where I was and seeing if that was any better. It wasn't particularly, to be honest. There was the odd job, but I needed to really get myself back home tonight. So I have got some constraints about what I can do. I could theoretically get a job to Birmingham and stay with my mum and then go home early in the morning. But I'd much rather, because I've got things to do, get myself home tonight. So I was getting quite desperate, and then quite late on, about 3:30ish, a job came up going from Stoke, which was 43 minutes from where I was, or 40 dead miles, but it was going to Peterborough. If I had a sound effect, I'd have a heaven sound, sort of shining light and happening at this point, because that was like, oh, I need that job, that's so good, that's such a good job for me. And also it was with a shipper that I've used before. Importantly, it's one of the first shippers I ever had contact with. I actually went to visit them and sort of said hello and stuff. And but the main thing is I have their text number. So I don't do a lot of work for them because I tend to be not in the right area for their work. But on this occasion, I put a bid on, texted them to say I was available and this would get me home. And I hoped that they would, do me a bit of a solid favour and give me the job. Now they texted me back reasonably quickly and said, if you can match our other prices at £75, we'll give you the job. And I didn't really hesitate. For me, I could have been stuck in Stockport for another hour or so quite easily, and maybe even just dead miles at home. That has been known to happen. So for me, I was always going to take that job at £75. So I said yes and made my way towards Stoke. I arrived at the pickup point at 4:15, and I got £75 for a small van job going 105 loaded miles. So very grateful to get that job, and when I arrived at the pickup point, I ended up just getting a small box, single box, which I think is a steel joint for a van repair. It's quite small, it fits in the palm of my hand, but it's quite heavy. And yes, and that is it. That's what I'm doing now. I'm now heading to Peterborough and to finish off my day there. So that was my sort of CX job, I suppose. In some ways, it wasn't a CX job because I kind of used my contact to kind of get the job via directly. But I found out about the job on CX, and the pricing is a CX pricing. So I treat that as a CX job. Right, so let me move on. First of 3 things that I need to talk about. The first one is, on my last video I had 3, at the time of saying this video, 3 comments, and I've done 1 video as a response to 1 comment that I've already uploaded today, so that's dealt with. But there's a second comment that I feel needs to be shared more widely, and I'm going to do that in this video. And it's from a person that has made a few comments in the past. If I'm honest, they tend to be reasonably critical of me, but they are knowledgeable and they are worth listening to. So they are called on YouTube Sean Gill Martin 1505, and I suspect that other YouTubers have also had comments from Sean. He tends to be quite prolific at commenting on same-day courier work videos, and he is someone that I would think knows what he's talking about. And I'll read out his comment, and then I'll emphasise the bits that I think are important. So, first of all, in full, the comment is this: good to point out your reasoning for working the way you do. perhaps people commenting aren't in the school careers advisor mode, but perhaps have gone partially down your route before and are trying to warn other viewers, perhaps younger and less experienced, that it is a road that leads to severe debt and or bankruptcy. After all, this industry feeds on churning the unwary. Call it social responsibility, if you will. So, that's the comment in full, and I understand what Sean's saying, and I don't believe that the people that comment on my videos telling me what to do are doing it with that in mind. I think that if they are doing that in mind, they need to say that, not tell me what I should do. So if you're an experienced person on CX and you wanted to make the point that this is an industry that can prey upon the unwary, and you can, as a driver, get bankrupted quite easily, then say that. If that's what you want to say that, because that's a really important point. But if you want to say that point by saying to me, telling me what I should do, that isn't the same thing at all. So I think what Sean's done there is he's basically saying what he thinks people should be mindful of, but I don't believe other comments that tell me that are thinking that. Now, here are the 2 points that I want to really emphasise, because they're really important points that Sean made. And because I don't believe everyone reads the comments, I think by putting this in a video, more people will hear this. And it's really designed for those people that are inexperienced or new to this industry, because it's a really valid point. And it's this: it's warning viewers that are perhaps a bit younger or less experienced that often this job leads to severe debt and can lead to bankruptcy. That is an absolutely important point to understand. If you're going to do this job, you have to have a clear understanding of the finances, what it costs to run your own business, what you need to charge to make that money. That's completely correct. Second point, after all, this industry feeds on churning the unwary. I think that's really well put. I would say that, in my opinion, there are people, shippers, companies that don't care about you as a driver, will just take the cheapest price that anyone offers, and they won't care whether you can survive that or not. Also, though, there are shippers, and I would say, in general terms, it's the smaller to medium-sized enterprises that are really good, that do work with drivers and will pay a fair price and won't take advantage. And in my experience, in general terms, the larger national, multinational companies are the ones that don't really care about your welfare. So if you can understand that that is a danger, that is an important thing to bear in mind. And I really thank Sean for making that point, and that's what I am highlighting as my first point today. The last point that he makes, call it social responsibility, if you will. I understand what he's saying. As I said, just to repeat, I just don't think that's what people are doing when they comment about what I should do. But I'll leave it at that. Right, my second point is, I did say in my last video that I would look over the weekend and do some maths about what I need to earn. And it is a bit difficult at the moment, and it is a transitional stage, but I want to be fully informed. And I think I've got some important things to share with some people about business costs. Now, I'm going to run through my up-to-date business costs, the things that I call my fixed business costs. And some of these things you might not need to spend money on. And there may be other things that I don't spend money on that you do need to. the thing that comes to mind is van finance. I don't currently have any van finance, but it's quite common for someone doing this job to need to finance their vehicle to do the job. So we won't have exactly the same fixed costs, obviously, but I can give you a pretty good rundown as to what my fixed costs are, and you can just take that if it's helpful, or ignore it if you don't think it's helpful. So I'm going to run through the item and what I spend per year as an annual cost on that item, and I'm going to tell you why some things are included and other things aren't included. So the first thing is my van insurance. That's up for renewal at the end of this month, but I've had a renewal price. It's not really changed very much from last year, gone up slightly, and this is for my hire and board insurance, goods in transit and public liability insurance. And I pay per year £1,800, £1,800. The second cost that I've got, which you may or may not feel that you need to have, is breakdown cover, and I currently pay for this year £95. In the past I've had that and not had that, and I kind of vacillate as to whether it's worth having or not. So that's one of the things that I would say I could risk not having it, but on this occasion I had it this year. My vehicle tax is a compulsory bill, you can't get away from that, and for my van it's £320 a year, 320. I have, my next line is my business bank fees. I have a business bank account. You have to pay an amount for that, and that's £8.50 per month, which comes to £102. There's a bit of pence after that. £102 a year. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a business bank account. You might be able to get away with just doing this on a personal account and not pay that charge. But it's, in my mind, a reasonably minor charge. But I include it here because it's something to bear in mind. The next one is something that's probably a bit more voluntary. You can probably do this job, as a sole trader at least, without using an accountant. I do have a limited company, and it's much easier for me to have an accountant to deal with all my accounting issues. So I pay £936 a year, 936, but that's something you may not need to pay. I include in this my work phone contract, just over £11 a month. That comes to £136 a year, 136. I renewed my SIX membership in June, start of June, and it was £1,584, 1584, and that's the only job site payments that I do. And this is the first change from last year. Today I did cancel my union membership, and so I'm not paying for a union anymore. It's one of the things I feel I have to let go because of the situation I'm in financially. The next figure is my estimate for van servicing and MOTing. So it's over the course of a year. In my spreadsheet I've got £6,671, 6671. That's quite a lot of money, and I would say that is my estimate that I need to cover to be sure I'm okay over the year. I might not need to spend that much, but if I have that available, I know it can cover everything that I need to cover. And I've got an old van, and it does need to be maintained regularly. I probably have about 6 or 7 services a year. No, six a year I would say, and then there's repairs. So, and I'd include in that things like screen wash, fluids for the van, any cleaning I might do. But I'll try and do not much of that because it's to save money. My next item is, I call it equipment and stationery. I've put in a very generous amount of £100 a month. Now, I don't spend anything like that, and so that's just really there as a kind of guide. I do that to cover everything else that I might need to replace or buy for my van. So replacing ratchet straps, or getting more blankets, or getting a torch, for example, or tramping kit, or anything that is an item that I need. Stamps and envelopes, stationery paper. If I had to replace my printer, it would come out of that money. That comes out a year at £1,566. No, it doesn't. That comes out at £1,200, and I think that's an overestimate as well. But I'd rather overestimate than underestimate. Now the next item is my van depreciation, and the way that I account for that is I save an amount of money every week, and that is the amount of money that I put aside to pay for my next van when I come to replace it. Now, the amount that I put aside is £100 a week, which is £5,200 a year. It is probably the first thing that gets eaten up if I can't earn the right amount of money, if I'm honest. So it is there, and for the sake of this, I'm putting in so that you've got a full accounting of my fixed costs, because that's the point of me saying it in this video. So if you add up all that, it comes to, I'm just going to make a slight change because I made a change before today. Okay, that comes to a total of £18,044. And so that would be a reasonably good estimate of my fixed costs for running this business. And roughly speaking, if I work for 46 weeks a year, that's roughly £400 a week that I have to earn that is going to cover my business expenses, my fixed costs. So if you are brand new to this, you might not have an accountant, you might not need to have van finance, maybe you'll save some money, but you might have all those things, you might have van financing as well. But that's how I work out my fixed business costs as an estimate which is running in my head all the time. And the £400 a week, if you divide that by 5 days, is £80. So that's where my £80 estimated fixed costs came per day of working. So now I've worked out what is that over 3 days, and that's about £135 over 3 days a day. So I know that when I work, £135 now, when I work part-time, has to be put towards business costs. And you can see, can't you, that if you work part-time hours, the business costs, the fixed business costs don't change. They form a bigger part of the money that's taken out of your pocket. So hopefully that's useful. Now, I am going to have to change how I think about my my amount of money that I earn, because I can't really now reliably go on a day rate, because I might do half a day on a Tuesday morning, I might do half a morning on Saturday, and so therefore I have to now change my my target to be a weekly target and not worry about the daily amounts. So if you bear in mind I need to earn about £400 each week to cover my business costs, and then I'm going to say I need roughly £450 a week to cover my personal commitments and expenditure, and that is rough, but it is doable. Now, therefore, roughly speaking, if I can earn £850 a week, then I will be able to cover my business and personal costs. I think it's going to be very hard to do that all from just working on CX. It's pretty much not possible, I would say. So I'm going to have to make some decisions about spending less money. So the first decision I've made is, at least temporarily, I'm no longer, as of today, contributing towards a personal pension. I have to make sacrifices somewhere, and that's one thing I can do quite easily. So I've stopped making payments to that, which means I've got less money needing to go out per week. So that brings it down to something like £800 roughly. And then there are other things I can not do, but I'm not going to try and do that right now. So in my head, roughly £800 a week, half on business costs, half on personal costs. And if I do that, I'm going to be roughly in the right ballpark. Right, to help me achieve that, I am applying for Personal Independence Payment, PIP. Because of the way that my health has deteriorated, I've got a chance of getting some money through that welfare benefit. Now, I don't like the fact that I'm applying for it. I'm very much of the mindset that I'd rather work for myself, earn my own money, and not have this sort of support. But I have to be realistic. I have to understand that my health is not something I've chosen to be this bad, and if I had better health, I'd work more days. And so I've had to swallow my pride to some extent and apply for PIP, which I'm currently doing this month. Whether I get anything or not is still up in the air, but I'm going to do the best job I can to try and get as much as I can through that, at least until I have ability to get back to work full time. But at the moment, that would be a really helpful support for my income. So I'm going to leave that bit there. That was really more about the discussion of business costs, fixed business costs, to give someone an idea about what it costs to run a long wheelbase van. And I don't really need you to tell me your opinions on that. I mean, unless you want to do it in a way that is supportive and valuable. But just telling me, get rid of your accountant, it's not going to be any help. I'm not going to listen to that. So I want to make the point that I'm happy to engage, but do it in the right way, please. Right, next point I want to make. I think it's my last point, really. I mentioned that I had to get back home for tomorrow. I've got an appointment, and I want to share with you what that appointment is, because it's something that's taken me a very long time to actually re-engage with, and I feel optimistic about it, and it is important. It's important to me, and I want to share it with my audience, and I don't want it to be a hidden thing. It is something that's worth, I think, talking about. And that is, I've booked to see a talking therapist tomorrow who is local to me. I'm going to go and see them face to face tomorrow morning before my dialysis in the afternoon. And I've got a hell of a lot of stuff that I need to resolve. The way that I see these sort of things, for me, it's only for me, this might not apply to anyone else, is I'm pretty good at being reflective and self-analysis. And I have a number of issues that I know have caused me in mental health harm. So we're talking here about mental health, not physical health. And there are a number of, things going back in my life that have happened to me that have caused me to have trauma, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. One person's trauma is the other person's slightly bad day. So I don't think trauma necessarily has to be a big thing, but it could just be a little thing that lasts for a long time and doesn't go away. So for the sake of argument, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to refer to healing my traumas. And that's the thing I can't do. I'm not capable of healing those things that I know that have caused me issues and continue to cause me issues. Just to mention a couple that I know are very important to me, but these are by no means everything. I know I have a battle with my weight, and I know I have a battle with money. Being comfortable with money and earning money. So there's two at least to start off with that I know if I could heal those battles using therapy, I'd have a much happier life. So the way I see this therapy, is I want to do it face to face with someone that's local. There's not a lot of travelling. I want to commit to quite a lot of weekly chats. And I want to have kind of an ongoing evolution of understanding and communication about the issues that I know affect me. I don't know whether this particular therapist will be right for me. I've never used them before. I've had one conversation on the phone as an introduction, but I'm going to give it a go. I want to get back into the therapy. I want it to be something that, because I know it will work, I want to find the right person, and I want to engage in talking therapy again. And I mention that because it's important to me. I know it's going to be good for me. I do worry about the cost of it. That's not insignificant, but I think I can't put that off any longer for that reason. I wouldn't trust going through the NHS for therapy. That you have to wait for so long, and I wouldn't trust 6 sessions to resolve anything. You get 6 sessions free. Particularly with me, I'm not. I'm able to function as an adult. So my issues are much more things that have to be dealt with through private therapy, not the NHS. So I'm going to some extent, share that journey, because I think it's important that people are open to the idea of having therapy when it's right for them. And it's right now for me. It wasn't right for me in the past. I remember being told about it many years ago and just ignoring it and thinking it wasn't for me. But I have, 6 years ago, had therapy, which I've mentioned before in another video, and I know it's right for me to try it again. So there you go. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. And as I said, I'll kind of every so often just touch base with where it's going and how it's helping, and let you know. Right, thank you very much for listening to this video. I'm back at work on Wednesday, hoping to get a long day in and get some decent money. I hope that you are being successful, however you choose to define that word for yourself. And I'll see you soon. Farewell, friends.